Guys, got to get you some map gas.
Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I know we've been away for a little while, but we're back at it here. Going to try to get back to those weekly videos. Don't worry, haven't done any work without you. But I was recently working on my daily driver and catching up on some things. And I ran into some bolts and nuts that just would not come loose. Specifically a nut on a stud that just spun and would not come loose. So I'm going to give you guys 3 methods in this video you can try to get a nut out. And I'm going to say that one of these methods 100% of the time is going to work on getting that stuck nut removed. So let's go ahead and I'll show you these methods and hopefully it helps you guys out. Alright, guys, so if you got a stuck nut on a stud or something like that, it's just spinning because you can't hold the stud that's down through and you can't get the nut off. It's galled on there, rested on there, what have you. And this works for bolts too. Step 1, get yourself a torch. Now guys, this is not just any torch. Don't go for propane. I mean, it might work sometimes, but go for the map gas, which is actually going to be a hotter burning flame. And actually going to really heat up that nut or bolt and just make those threads shrink a little bit and pop a little more loose. So go ahead and heat it up as long as you can. Just put the top of the torch in the flame right on that nut and just keep it there for a while. And then once it's hot, like I'm talking scalding hot, spray it down with good old WD-40, and I'm talking soak it. Just soak the whole thing, WD-40, get it on there liberally, spray it on there, and then get your air wrench if you have it, or just, you know, your good old wrench or whatever, and try busting it loose, and 9 times out of 10, that's going to work. So that's method 1. All right, guys, so method 2, and I'll actually show you one of the nuts for this one. This is actually one of the nuts I was working with here on the shocks. I was trying to get off my my Volvo. So as you can see here, this is a nut that was on the stud of the imagine like my finger's a stud sticking straight up on the shock in the back of the car, and then this nut's on top holding it down. Well, as soon as you tried to put an air wrench on it and turn it, it would just spin, right? It wouldn't come loose. It was just spin on there because there's nothing holding that stud. Now, sometimes they have an Allen key sticking up through the center here, or like a Torx bit that you can put in there to hold it. That way, you can actually get it to, you can hold it while you use a wrench to try and get the nut off. But that wasn't working either because the hole was just too rusted and stripped out and what have you. So, method number 2, get yourself a good set of drill bits. Something, you know, don't go to Harbor Freight and buy the cheapo ones. Get something like, you know, titanium, get something strong, and then start small. And as you can see here, around the nut, go ahead and just start drilling some holes. Now I put 5 in this particular one. Started with a small drill bit and worked my way up just a little bit and drilled 5 holes in different parts of the nut. Now, what this is going to do, your key is when you have a stuck nut is trying to get it to have less surface area with whatever it's attached to, right? So you're trying to create less surface area between the nut itself and that stud that it's completely stuck on. So if you drill out 5 holes here, what you're essentially doing is, 1, you're heating it up because of the friction from the drill. So it's kind of like the same technique as that map gas. But what you're also doing is decreasing the surface area, if you can see in there, between the nut itself and the bolt, because you're eliminating that portion. And hopefully you're getting some of that corrosion out of there as well when you're drilling. Now in this particular nut here, which was on the passenger side of the car, once I did that, I was able to put my air wrench on it and spin it right off. And like, I just kept spinning it and spinning it and spinning it with the air wrench, and eventually she popped off because drilling these holes made enough surface area, less surface area, and got rid of enough corrosion that it was able to spin off, and I got the bolt off. So, or the nut off, excuse me if I keep calling it a bolt. So this will work good for nuts. Bolts you can drill out, which is kind of a pain sometimes, so I wouldn't really recommend this for bolts. I'd try method 1, or for bolts method 2, method 3 here might work. But for nuts, this is a good thing to try. So let's move on to method 3. All right, guys, so method 3, you've tried everything. You've sat there, you've beat on it with a hammer, you have tried heating it up with and spraying it with WD-40. You've tried drilling it like I just showed you, you know, putting these holes in it to get the surface area. She's still spinning on there. you cannot get this thing off the stud, or you can't even get it to spin. It's on a, it's just completely frozen and stuck. And maybe you're not in a place where you can just use a grinder and whack it off. That's what I would normally do. Just get out the grinder, whack it off, put the new part on, and you're done. Well, in the situation I was in, if you can imagine, and I'm sure a lot of you watching this probably are, this nut is in a location where you can't get a grinder in. It's down in a little hole in the back of the car. It's surrounded by plastic, so you really can't even heat it. And you just can't get a grinding wheel in there. Well, maybe you can. So let me show you what I mean. All right, guys, so this is not sponsored or anything like that, but if you're in a tight area and you can't cut off the nut or cut off the bolt, but that's your only option left, these things come in really handy. So this is a rotary tool, otherwise known as a Dremel tool, something like that. And basically, you're going to use this to act as your grinder in a small confined space, right? So if you look at it here, it's just like a little electric motor with a top on it there, and you can get all kind of different attachments for sanding and things like that. It also comes with cutoff wheels, as you can see right here. See if I can pull one out for you, just to show you what it looks like. That's your little mini cutoff wheel, and most of the time you can get in there with one of those. So you put that on the little rod here, get it down in there, and work your way at cutting off the nut or bolt. Now, problem is those things do break, so get the heavy duty ones. I actually have them right here. These are the Dremel heavy duty cutoff wheels that last a little bit longer than the cheap ones. And you just work at it, and basically you want to remove the threads. So I'm going to show you. So this is the bolt from the passenger side, right, that I showed you that we drilled holes into. Well, here's the bolt from the driver's side. I tried everything in the book to get this one off, and it would not come. I spent like a couple hours before I finally broke down and went to buy a rotary tool because I didn't have one, which actually, guys, that at Walmart is like 20 bucks, so it's well worth it for breaking your back at these things. But yeah, this one, there's not much left of it, as you can see. So between my hammer and chisel and the rotary tool, that's what we're left with. So basically what I did is, as you can see, there's really no threads left in this thing because it's just the bottom here of like the washer part of the nut. So basically what I did was get in there with my Dremel tool, rotary tool there, and cut around the side of the nut. So looking at the one that's not completely demolished, just cut around the side here and just slice off portions of it, and then chisel it off with the hammer and your screwdriver. And then eventually you're left with something mangled like this that doesn't even look like a nut, and it's completely trashed. And basically when you get to this point, you can just pull this off and, replace whatever you're going to replace. No issue. If it's a bolt, same deal, and then you can maybe drill it out. But if it's a nut, you can cut around it, bang it off, and she should loosen up for you. So as a last resort, get out that grinder with the cutting wheel, or if you're in a small, tight space like I was, and you're surrounded by plastic, guys, you might have to invest 20 bucks there if you have a Walmart near you, and go for the Dremel tool. I also had the Harbor Freight special. This is like a $10 little Dremel. What is this? Drill Master. It's like their cheap beater one. Guys, I don't recommend that. This is very light duty. It's a little motor. It's not going to cut through what I needed that to cut through on that nut. So anyways, guys, 3 methods. One of them guaranteed to get you where you need to go, to get you moving along. And I hope this helped you out. Guys, I hope that helps somebody out there, and you don't spend 2-3 hours banging on a nut like I did and waste your whole, whatever it was, Tuesday evening working on that, stuck on golden on nut there. So not very fun. But if it does help you out, guys, and you enjoy the content, please subscribe down below and like this video. I'd really appreciate it. Helps me out and helps you guys out for the future. In case I release something you might be helpful to you in the future, you'll be notified and you'll get the inside scoop on it. So really appreciate that. Until next time, guys, be sure to get out there and do it yourself.